Good morning, everyone. It's Wake My Light. Today, we're gonna do something I wanted to try and start for a while now, which is I'm gonna start commentating some of my Mythic Pluses that I do that are a little bit higher for as a disc priest from a healer point of view. I'm gonna try and tell you different things to like look out for, different things to like where I'm using a lot of my CDs, who I'm using PI on, that kind of stuff, and just look at it from this point of view. Let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel and to this video. And don't forget to check me out also on twitch.tv/wakemylight. And here we go. All right. So this is a 11 Plaguefall. Nothing too crazy, right? It's not like, you know, my 13s or 14s that I do on other days. So right here, usually what happens is you're going to pull that big guy, and you also have those small adds. Sometimes you do into a big pull or a small pull. Here we're doing into a big pull. Here we're running with a paladin. So I try to save my cooldown sometimes, especially on some of these lower keys, right? This isn't too much of a crazy pack. The biggest thing you have to worry about is the big AoE damage that comes out from the mushroom guys. As long as DPS are on top of it, though, they have ways to get rid of it, per se. Here I used Paints Up on the tank because he got pretty low. He did use Guardian, so was a bit of a mix up there. You want to use Paints Up when you see that they are not, when you see that they have no other cooldowns available, pretty much, right? Here you can see that this is a one from last week. This is a spiteful, so had to play around with spiteful a bit. You can let them just drag out and just kite them away. I didn't do that all the time though, because a lot of times I get focused. You'll see here that I do a lot of Mind Seer and just minimal atonements out sometimes, because you don't need the atonements. You don't always need all the crazy healing and stuff. Obviously this isn't going to be like the cleanest Plaguefall you see, but it's not that bad of a run. See, as you see here, we're just doing good old damage. Just get your smites out. Try to use your penance on CD. One thing to keep in mind is when you are healing, especially in higher keys and stuff, as a disc priest, using your penance defensively instead of offensively is a big thing, especially shooting penance into your tank and stuff. It provides a good buffer, especially when they're getting focused. So as you see here, I haven't used PI in a while. So real quick, as we're watching this video, one thing to keep in mind when using your PI. So here, and for all Mythic Plus, I'm running the Power Infusion Legendary that lets you use Power Infusion on someone else. You also get the full benefit of Power Infusion. So here you can see I use it on, I think I just use it on myself actually, unfortunately. But usually I will give it to someone else. Now, who is a good person to give it to? Really depends, right? So I usually run with a hunter in my groups for when I actually push and stuff. So their cooldowns actually align perfectly as an MM hunter with True Shot aura. So I watch for their True Shot. When they pop that, I give them the haste. When I give them the PI. Here, some good people to give it to would be the mage whenever their combust is up. So as soon as they pop combust, you give it, because combust is a very short window. You could also give it to the balanced druid. Pretty much anytime with balanced druid, though, you usually want to do it when they do celestial alignment. That's usually a good time to do it. You don't want to give it to them when they're doing convoke, because their convoke does not actually gain any benefit from the haste. The haste doesn't do anything for them during convoke. You want to do it after convoke. So as you can see here, there's a bunch of spitefuls coming. We didn't use a massive spell. We used Arcane Torrent to get rid of them. One thing to keep in mind with Massive Spell is it only gets 5 targets, so you can't actually do all of them at one time. You actually need to have someone with Arcane Torrent for something as big as this. See how it only gets rid of 5. But the other thing is too, is you can use your Dispel Magic that you see me using here, and that will help get rid of some of those other ones. You want to get rid of those debuffs in Plaguefall, because otherwise a big huge green pool is going to form underneath them, and it really is just makes a big zone not fun to walk through. So this is a fort week, so trash does stay up a little bit longer, unfortunately. You can see the tank pulls to the side, this big mob. He does a frontal cone, and then pretty much does damage. He's going to spawn some oozes. Generally, you can just DPS this guy down, though you do want to prevent him from getting the oozes. So you'll see here that I'm actually using the talent the knockback talent. So I forget what it's called off the top of my head, but I think it's called Divine Burst or something. So here you also see prideful being spawned. Prideful in this area you want spawned pretty much right before the boss. Generally, you usually want prideful before a boss or when you have a heavy pack coming up. So for somewhere like in Spires, there's some interesting places you can pop prideful, right, which happens at every 20% to get everyone more damage, more healing, as well as the prideful buff also gives you 5% mana per second. So it really helps with the flow of dungeons. There's very few times, even on like hard weeks like Grievous or something like this week, where you actually will see me sitting down and getting mana. You actually see me getting mana super fast right here. And the beginning part of this fight, you want to be damaging as much as possible, right? So you see that, you know, they're popping combust, they're popping everything. It's a non-tyrannical week, so this boss won't last all that long. You see me dodging the cone here, so dodge cone. There's gonna be a big ad that's gonna spawn. 9 times out of 10, you're just gonna be CCing that big ad. This one really is just a DPS race. Let's see if we can kill it. This is a bit of, like I said, this is also a bit of a lower key, so battling this on tyrannical is gonna be a bit different. You still want CC the big ad, but the small ads usually you want to kill, because unless you're doing like low keys, it's gonna be very hard to kill in just one rotation. So, but that's the end of that fight. So now we're going to go down. So there has been a few different ways that people tackle this area now. One of the biggest things that you're going to see a lot of groups now is instead of going to the left, you're going to see people start going to the right and using the barrels to help kill ads. I'm mostly on fort weeks because it actually helps damage them as well, which helps. As you see, I'm still doing a lot of Mind Seers, a lot of penance. You see me penancing the tank there, so that's something to just keep in mind. Don't be afraid to use penance on your tank. Unless you see that they're really healthy, that kind of stuff. Again, more pridefuls. So those little guys that spawn, those little oozes, those can be stepped on, and they'll do a little bit of damage to you, but they're just ads that you step on and kill pretty easily. Just continuing on. Now, one thing to keep in mind with Plaguefall is that there is a lot of diseases that come out. So you want to make sure that you dispel those diseases as fast as possible, obviously. Mostly going to go on the tank. They do a bunch of damage. Make sure to get rid of it. 8 times out of 10, especially during this area and later on and for the next boss and whatnot, you're going to see a purple ad, or you're going to see oozes. Those oozes need to be focused down mostly. So just keep that in mind if you're looking for a priority target as a disc priest to kind of focus on. That's a good way to go. As far as like your setup for a disc priest, I usually go with I usually use Shadow Core oil nowadays other than embalming. There's not really a whole lot of places where I would need the extra 1% healing it gives you, but the Shadow Core oil is just a little bit of extra damage. It's nothing like super substantial. I mean, you're talking like maybe like 10,000 damage in a dungeon, but it all adds up. Same thing in raid. I've actually been doing more like Shadow Core than the other one sometimes, depending. So here, like before, just killing spiteful on the way. So here, you're going to see me getting rid of, trying to dispel magic on some of these. Use the barrel, got some damage. And G freaking G. still spiteful. As you see, I use in Mythic Plus. I use my Divine Star. I use it a lot. I think that's what it's called. Divine Star, Divine Burst, something like that. I use it a lot, honestly. The knockback is just, it's so freaking useful. I usually just do it on myself. You can target it on someone, but for me, I just find it easier to do it myself, position it, everything like that. And it's a good knockback, good save, especially for this week with Necrotic, where you need to get space between like a DK tank and the mobs and stuff. This is a really good way to go about it. It doesn't go through inspiring, unfortunately, so that is one thing to keep in mind. So here you're gonna see me do a quick radiance here, Mind Blast into Penance. So here the reason why you're seeing me do that is because it is we're still at low stacks, so now we're starting to hit those medium stacks. So you're gonna see me do another radiance. You're gonna see me do Mind Games because you see people getting a little bit low. Going Radiance into Mind Games on Pride is pretty nice. It's a nice big chunky heal on everyone through Atonement. In higher keys you can't rely on your Atonement as a Disc Priest, so that's one thing to keep in mind as a Disc Priest when you're healing Mythic Plus is your Mythic Plus healing is way different than you heal in raiding. In raiding you use Shadow Men, but you might be using more powered shield or whatever. When you're raid healing, it's much more about you're getting ready to do your ramps, right? Well, there's ramping in Mythic Plus, but it's not quite the same, right? So you still need to know your fights, still need to go what you're getting into. But when it comes to Mythic Plus, you're gonna be doing a lot more just straight up triage, right? So you do a lot more Shadow Men's, a lot more defensive penances, and a lot more offensive Mind Blast, that kind of thing, right? Whereas in something like raiding, your Mind Blast you're only using for your Schism ramps. You may only use it for your actual big ramps, even for Spirit Shell, right? So that's just something to keep in mind. Here, so one thing to watch out for is those big canisters. So usually the tank or someone will end up getting that big disease debuff. It hurts like a truck, so always prioritize getting those targets dispelled ASAP. Don't let them take too many ticks there. You saw the tank got down to like 19% there when he had that because it just chunks health. These guys here, you see the tank bubble. This is a pretty straight. Plaguefall is one of those that's pretty straightforward. There's not too many and honestly in a lot of these dungeons, there's not too many alternate routes to take, so you don't have to worry too much about it. Here you see me give PI to the mage when he did Combust. It really is it's huge. You see this guy doing 8-9k, whereas usually he'd probably be doing 6 to 7, right? So that's why I always suggest to people, use the PI, use the Power Infusion Lego for Mythic Plus. The Penitent one is okay, but the issue with Penitent one is that it's a chance, right? So you have a chance to cast 3 more, to get a proc from Radiance for your Penance to do 3 more bolts, whereas Power Infusion, using someone else, you get the full effect. So don't be afraid to use it, and don't be afraid to use it on CD. Even if that DPS doesn't get full effectiveness out of it because of CDs or whatever, right? If you need it in order to get through Prideful, or if you need it to get through something, just pop it, just use it, right? You ultimately want to use it with your team and coordinate. So for me, I'm almost always going to use it on a DPS like a Hunter, because their CDs line up so perfectly, they're using it so consistently, so they're going to get a lot of value out of Power Infusion, right? Whereas something like a Boomkin, the only time they have Celestial Alignment, but it's every 3 minutes, right? So they're only be able to get it every 2 out of 3, every other cast essentially, right? Or something along those lines. So it's every other cast, right? 2, 4, 6, duh. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. Don't be afraid to use it defensively if you have to. Just give it to a random person. Doesn't even matter if it's a tank, right? Give it to some random person, such as during Prideful, just so you can get through it. Because if everyone's dead, you're losing time. That's just the simple name of the story, right? So for this one, we're popping Prideful. It's a little bit early. Usually you want to pop Prideful right before you get into boss. Here, I think we pulled a little bit extra. So usually what happens is you pull the 2 front circles here, then you pull the back one, you pull it to the stairs, and then you pop Prideful from that, go straight into boss. Here, unfortunately, we popped it a little bit early because we overpulled. And so you see now where we're gonna get prideful into the next trash pack, kill it, and then we'll pull the boss. We get, I think we get like 10-15 seconds of prideful out of it, but it's nothing too crazy. See, so here we actually go all around. On 11, honestly, I think we could have probably just, even with tyrannical, or not tyrannical, fortified, I think we could have gone it. Oh, that's right. So this one, we actually lose almost all of prideful because he jumps right onto that next platform. I think with prideful we probably could have, but they didn't risk it. So we end up wasting almost half the prideful, and then finally going in, pulling it to the stairs, and going from there. This pack isn't too hard, just dodge. Same thing with the boss. The boss isn't too hard. A lot of your damage on this next boss is honestly just gonna come from tank damage. There's not a whole lot of AoE damage that really goes out a whole lot, but your tank can get trucked. The only time really there's a lot of AoE damage that really comes out is if there's no one in melee range of the boss, and then the boss is just gonna do a huge AoE pulsing constantly. So here we see the pull going in, right? So you see everyone's in pretty big trouble. I'll pop a radiance, do a few shadow mends. Always make sure you have your dot, your purge the wicked on the boss, because if nothing else, it's like a mini hot. It's nothing great, but little healing is better than no healing, especially in something like this. Here I probably could have used door of shadows, get by quicker, but I just found it easier to do this so I can cast on the move. Something to always remember as a disc priest is, your damage does matter, right? It's not a lot. You see I'm only pulling 800 or whatever, but damage is damage, right? So always pump into your priority target, whoever that may be, right? So here you see the explosive ad that has to die immediately. Then you see the congealed slime. This actually reduces damage to things around it. So you want to focus that ad, and then you're pumping into boss, right? You want to put your purge of the wicked and that kind of thing on everything else. Obviously, you want to have purge of the wicked on the boss and that kind of thing, but prioritize the explosive, then the congealed slime, and then pump into boss. Here you see I'm still going into it, but it's not that big of a deal, right? So you see, really a lot of your damage is going to come from if people get hit by the green stuff. So as the saying always goes, don't stand in fire, don't stand in bad. If you don't stand in bad, you don't have anything to worry about. Otherwise, this fight is really just a follow along and make sure stuff dies, right? So you see his leap's coming up in like 8 seconds. We really need to kill this. Congealed slime. DPS is a little low because we're trying to focus on boss, unfortunately. So he's about to leap again. And here, okay, so he's about to do his big leap, I believe, to get away. Cool, we killed him. So moving forward from here, this was also during a grievous week. So you see, this is where the effect of prideful really comes into play. During tyrannical weeks, such as the current week that we're playing in, not this video, but you'll see in some of my other videos, right? With tyrannical weeks, timing your pridefuls to go into boss is going to be huge, because some of these bosses, such as the last boss in Spires of Ascension, or Necrotic Wake, third boss, that kind of thing, right? Timing your pridefuls correctly, or a second boss actually in Necrotic Wake, which I'll make another video for because we did one earlier today. Those guys are like, those fights can last like 4 or 5 minutes sometimes, or 3-4 minutes, right? And in a Mythic Plus environment where a lot of your damage is much more spiky, it's much more consistent, and you have to triage like that. It's not like Raid where big AoE burst comes out and then you get a little bit of time to come back. Sometimes in Mythic Plus you got damage on damage on damage, right? And you have to figure out, how am I going to triage this in the best way possible? So this middle pack isn't the go-to right now. It provides a decent chunk of percentage. Most of your mobs are already pretty low, so they're going in. You'll notice I didn't really pop Rapture too much in here, at least. I haven't really had to, but you do want to use your Rapture pretty consistently. That's something I'm still getting used to, right? So here I probably could have popped Rapture going into this or as soon as it started. Remember that your first cast of Rapture puts a huge shield on someone. So try to prioritize whoever that shield goes onto, whoever you think is going to take, or whoever has already taken a lot of damage and is super low on health, right? You want them to get that nice, big, juicy bubble, and then you get everyone else. What I usually do is I try to get a shield on everyone, and then by the time I'm coming back to the other dude, he's probably got, like, the guy that got the first bubble, he's probably got, like, I don't know, probably half of that bubble left. So I go ahead and refresh, like, do another bubble on top of that, and then I'll just start spamming Shadow Mend and stuff. It provides a really good buffer, especially going into a Prideful. It provides a really good buffer for just elongating, you know, everyone's health and trying to really stabilize. Rapture is a really good stabilization CD because of the bubble and how it works. I mean, absorbs are just king. You know, that's why you see Spirit Shell ran in raids right now. So in here, there is a possibility for a lot of AoE damage. I don't remember if this group actually, if we killed everything super fast or not. But you see these stealth guys. Each one of these groups, I believe, has an ambusher. They're going to spawn these adds. Use Mind Seer or whatever AoE you have, and those need to be killed, right? They also need to be interrupted so they don't jump on people. Otherwise, it's going to be bad news bears, unfortunately. So there is a lot of damage that can go out in these packs, so don't be afraid to really just go ham on your CDs, because the beginning of this boss going in doesn't really hurt all that much. He doesn't hurt, like, if at all. I believe we actually wipe here. Yeah, I believe we actually wipe here because the slime. So there's a pack that went back into the slime, aggroed the slime, and then wiped us. So one thing to keep in mind is always have spatial awareness of what's going on. This is a good example of that, in the fact that you have tentacle behind you, adds are going back, and they can do a lot of damage there, right? And if the tentacle doesn't have something that can attack, then it's going to do a huge AoE and just start killing everyone, and that's not a good day, right? So here we see, I believe they actually killed it. No, they didn't. That's fine. They killed the tentacle, I believe, but that's about it. And now we're just coming back. You see right now, so right now it's really important, right, to know your prideful timing. So you see we're 4% away from popping prideful, because it happens every 20%. We're at 76% right now. This next pack is most probably going to pop prideful, or will be about 1% under. I believe this actually pops prideful. So always be mindful of your prideful timings. Here you see we go into a paint sup early for this guy, so he gets that damage reduction. I go ahead and pop a early Rapture because of the spiders that come out. I want to make sure that even if they do jump on people, I want to make sure that my team is safe and healthy with it. It's probably a wasted Rapture, but it's better to be safe than sorry. So as you can see here, I was probably like a few seconds off from that, and it ends up killing me. Those are the ambushes. Those are all those guys just jumping on me, and it was just not a fun time. So here we see another one coming out. We're popping bubble because I see that those guys are about to come out. They're about to jump. They're finishing jump. They still kill me. They just do so much damage. You guys can't see the video of me behind this, but you just see me going like, what the fuck, right? So as you see here, right, we still have Venom Fang, we still have a Defender, we have 2 Spiteful out, and we have Prideful. This is not a good time, right? I believe here I'm going to pop, so here we pop Infusion. I believe I just popped it on myself, actually. And you just see that I'm just using this to get everyone caught up, right? Because you have Grievous stacking that's happening, which on top of Prideful is just not a good time. See me pop Desperate Prayer here just to make sure that, you know, I can live through this. And when you're dealing with Grievous, the name of the game is honestly keeps stacks low so you don't lose control. Grievous is all about control of your team's health. If you lose control of that health, and people start getting 3-4 stacks, and you get that around with everyone, you're gonna have a very hard time catching up. Whereas if you keep everyone maybe 1 to 2 stacks, it's going to be very easy later on, once you get control back of your team's health, to triage and get everyone back up and running. So here's the last pack before boss. We use prideful, go into it. The reason why this is a good move is because this is fortified week, so the bosses are going to die very quickly, right? I believe we only get 1 set of adds actually here, but the trash is what's going to last forever, right? So keeping that in mind, here you see a shade, knock it back. He's back with all of his buddies back there, and then just DPS it down. I'll DPS my own spitefuls down, but get purges on all the other ones. It just helps. So see, we got last 1-2 seconds of prideful. Use that to top off the rest of the raid. I'm going into this with full mana, haven't sat for a drink once, and we're going in blazing. We don't have power infusion, unfortunately, so that's okay. You're going to see a big, huge purple circle go around someone. So it goes around me for this first one. You're going to see I run out. I could probably wait a few more seconds, but when you get the circle, you want to run out. You're going to get stunned for a little bit, and then you get back with the group. The name of the game with this one is being stacked on top with everyone. Then you're going to see that all these little webs come out with guys shooting little axes and whatnot at people. This would be a good point actually to pop Rapture if you have it. If not, just big group healing. That's gonna be the name of the game here, group healing. So the way to break those guys out of their stealthy web is you have to go over there and damage that area to pop them out, right? I believe Flare also works to kind of show them, but we don't have a hunter here. But you just need to get damage out on those, right? So consecrate, mind seer. That's why you see me doing a lot of mind seers here, is because I'm trying to get AoE damage out so we can pop those guys out so that we can have less damage going out on the group that can't be prevented. Because once that happens, they'll come in and then you can just AoE them down with everything else you're doing, and it makes it very simple and easy. So here you see, you know, Grievous wasn't too bad. 4.4k healing, you know, ain't a thing but chicken wing. Alright, so here we're going into last boss and the packs, right? So this prideful is also extremely important. And this last boss is very important on how you're managing your how you are managing your CDs and your team is managing your CDs. Especially when you get into tyrannical weeks, and especially when you're getting into not just tyrannical weeks, but those really high keys that even on a fort week, it'll feel like a tyrannical week, right? Because those bosses just last forever. And no matter what, they're hitting hard, right? So the name of the game here is you want to pop prideful right as you're going in, you kill the rest of these guys and go into boss. So here we're at about 87%. So we're at I believe we're at a good percentage. We don't need anything else going into it. So you're gonna see the big Ichor Bile Flesh. He's gonna be the guy that's gonna teleport to each of these 3 packs. Really here, get Purge out, Purge the Wicked out, just get on a bunch of stuff. Make sure your tank survives. He's gonna take a lot of damage here. You see I'm actually low on mana right now, so it's not a good time for me. But I know my tank is healthy. I know he can take some hits, so I'm not too worried about getting him back to up to 100. I know, okay, he can take 1 or 2 hits and he'll survive, right? So you see that I'm just letting him go. I'm letting him do his thing. I'm making sure that the rest of us though are safe. I pop Pain Sub just in case so that he survives, because the Devoted does do a lot of melee damage, unfortunately. And then so each percentage that he goes down, I believe he goes down by about 30%. He'll go to the next pack. You see the Boomkin Starfall is already doing its work, unfortunately and fortunately, however you want to look at that. You see here, so this is a really bad situation for me, right? So I got no mana, I just popped Arcane Torrent, and we're about to pop Prideful, and all those devoted guys are coming. So what do? Right? I have 2 options. I could sit down and take a drink with my Potion of Spirituality, I believe it's what it's called, or I take a quick mana pot. I go ahead and just do a quick drink and sit. This is an 11 key, so I know it's not going to be super mana intensive, so it's not the worst thing in the world that I'm low on mana. I'm also prioritizing my Solace, and right now I'm trying to play it safer than I have to for this, right? I'm trying to save mana for when we get to the further parts of the Grievous and of the stacking Pride. Luckily, the mage actually pops CDs on this guy. He's burning it real quick, and we're actually going into this actually pretty healthy. Once we're at this point, you see I'm low mana, but I know I have Prideful. I don't have to sit anymore. I don't have to worry about it. I'm going to get full mana in no time flat, right? So here, this is where it's important to know what you need to do, right? So the first thing, going into Prideful on this is very good. You want to use your Prideful to get through the first phase, and then you use Lust to get through the last phase. The last phase is the hardest phase, right? So here you see that the tentacles are coming in a clockwise motion. So I just stand next to the first one that spawned, and then you see that I'm safe. Get your Purges of the Wicked out on all the Devoted that are out. Here you see the same thing happening. I go ahead and pop my Angelic Feather, move, and then pretty self-explanatory right here, right? This right here, so this is going to be one of your tougher options. You see that pop Power Infusion on the Mage because he just popped Combust. I'm probably a few seconds off, but that's okay. But the name of the game here is try and have like 1 DPS pop a CD and get through that phase as fast as possible. Especially on a non-tyrannical week, you have time. So just make sure that nothing happens and you're good. Unfortunately, Boomkin was about 2 pixels off from being safe, so he gets res, I believe, later on. That's okay. And all right, so everyone's safe here. The biggest thing that happens on last phase though is you're gonna see tentacles happening that you have to dodge, which is pretty consistent, and you're gonna see diseases coming out. It can stack up to 4 times. Try to get, because Master Spell doesn't work here. You see me pop a dome or power barrier. I get a dispel out, and the name of the game is just trying to keep everyone else alive to get through this fight, right? If you have Lust available, this is where you would pop Lust, is going into P3. Right, P3 is the hardest. There is so much healing that's going on, and you don't even know which way is up sometimes, right? You see that I'm popping a bunch of stuff, and we did it. That actually got my Keystone Conqueror, and we rocking, right? So I got all my 10s timed finally, and GG. I think I even got no upgrade, but that's okay. All right, guys. So that's my commentary on Plaguefall. This is only +11 from a Fortified, Spiteful, Grievous week with Prideful. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys liked this, if you didn't like it, and let me know if there's anything you would change. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. And I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.